Hey, Amie.
Yeah, Juan.
Give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm surrounded by baseball right now because I've got the game that's currently on, and now we're about to talk baseball. I'm in heaven.
All right, so just to clarify, at the time we are recording this, it is game one of the Dodgers Miami series, okay? So we're not going to talk about that, though. We're going to go back in time, and we're going to recap the Cachorros and the Bravos. The Dodgers had a very interesting week. They had a losing week, which is the first time they've had one in a while, Amie. Losing 2 out of 3 with the Cachorros and then splitting the series with the Bravos. Now, I think realistically, splitting the series with the Bravos, I think is what I expected. Now, I know the Cachorros are coming in hot, and it was going to be a tough series. I still thought the Dodgers would win 2 out of the 3. So let's start with, okay, before we get into the Cachorro series, let's go back with the updates. What information do we need to know now? What did we learn about the Dodgers this past week, Amie?
It's mostly pitching related. The two on the plus side, we got Yamamoto back, so he started on Tuesday against the Cubs. Through 4 innings, and then he also ended up getting a turn to pitch in the Braves series on Monday as well. So getting him back was great. Getting Graterol back, so he got to pitch in that same Tuesday game against the Cubs with Yamamoto, obviously not at the same time. So both of them getting to come back was great, which offset some of the sadder parts of our update. So Anthony Banda had a little
say it, because I think it's funny. Not only do I think it's funny, but I also think it's true.
He had a bad outcome with what did Robert say? In a moment of weakness and frustration, he took it out on a solid object that ultimately won the battle. Doc went on to say it was something that emotions kind of played into with the outing that he had the night before. It's something that I know he regrets. We all regret. So basically, he punched something, and he now has a hairline fracture on his hand. So we're, our bullpen needs help, and it's a little struggling.
Do you not want me to use the term that you brought up?
No, because I don't think it's going to do anybody any good. That was our conversation.
Okay, I won't
mostly
share
because I just think, while in the moment it feels, I don't understand it. I don't understand the pressure that these guys are under. We just played against, I think it was Kelenic in the Bravos series. He was on the Mariners last year. As we all know, he kicked something in the dugout and fractured his foot. I understand these guys are under immense pressure. It's hard, I think, as a fan to see something like that play out. Like, they have these emotions, they have these frustrations, but when they do something like this, like Dave Roberts said, he regrets it for himself, and they all regret it for the team, because we need that bullpen help right now, and we're missing him there. And it's like, do we have a better way to address some of these things in the moment? Because this isn't the only person that it's happened to.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, he is letting his team down, because it's huge in the sense, Amie, he was their only other left-handed reliever, true left-handed reliever. It was just Vesia and Banda. And with Banda going down, it puts a lot more pressure on Vesia. it limits the Dodgers' options when it goes to the bullpen, and that's just one of those things that this team already has enough limitations. An unforced error, which is what this was with Banda,
Mhm.
is the last thing this team needed, not only during this stretch, but going into the playoffs. Because I can't stress this enough to people. The Dodgers have a 3.5 game lead over the Show Pods. Anybody who is comfortable right now thinking that the Dodgers are going to win the division, please introduce yourself, because I want to understand you. You have ice in your veins to think that this team, it's going to come down. Next week is a very big week because the Show Pods come to Los Angeles. More than likely, that will probably determine who's going to win the division. But after that, the Show Pods they end their season with the Serpientes. And at that point, they may be jockeying for position. So I don't know if they're going to take it seriously, if they're going to want to, go all in, if position really matters to them, or if both teams will be like, look, I don't care if I play you at home, if we're the visitors, we just want to make sure we're healthy. So that's also going to determine who's going to win the division in the National League West.
So you were saying something about Banda.
Shiny object.
All great points. All great points.
What I was saying about Anthony Banda, I mean, I really didn't have anything else to add. It's just
it is unfortunate. It's really bad timing when this bullpen is already pretty taxed, as we've seen. The Dodgers are burning the pitching candle at both ends between, starting pitching struggling, which goes into the next update, which we heard Friday that Glasnow, his sim game was scratched due to discomfort. And then the next thing that we heard the following night on Saturday was he had scans done and he had a sprained elbow. So he was shut down indefinitely from throwing. And it was said that it was unlikely that he would return this year. Doc had his comments about it, Dave Roberts, and basically it comes down to they have to move on and they have capable people, which again, I know that it's not great. I'm not thrilled about it, but at the same time, his points in previous scrums were, we've gotten this far. And while, yes, we are in second place in the league, we're still at the top. Is it going to be the best way to go into the postseason, kind of limping our way in? No, but it's where we're at. So, we're still not limping in at the bottom of the standings. So not great. He also, I saw some media stuff going around, which was, I don't know. This is some of the stuff where I take off my media hat for a second and I put on my fan hat and I'm like, what? Where apparently he declined to comment on Sunday, Glasnow, and then had told somebody that he would be right back. And the next day he has no locker in the locker room. His nameplate's gone. Dave Roberts kind of covered for him. He was like, basically, I don't know where he is. He's not here. And then when pressed on it the following day, had basically said, yeah, we're in contact with them. It's an excused absence. I just didn't feel like it was public knowledge what was going on. And I think that's where I take that fan stance of not everything. We're not privy to everything here. I'm sure while we're all disappointed, Glasnow's probably disappointed that his season is over too when he wanted to help his team. So not great stuff. Get one more update out there, and then if you want to comment on the Glasnow thing, but Gavin Stone is supposedly going to throw sometime this week. That was the update last week or on Friday. So we'll see if that comes about or if they just keep him kind of locked down for a little bit longer.
Do you have an update on Kershaw?
I do not. Other than I think I know he's been throwing. You see him before the games. So no, do you have one for him?
I believe Roberts had said that it is unlikely that we're going to see Kershaw by the end of in the regular season, considering that the regular season is less than 2 weeks. I mean, it's just the rest of this week, ladies and gentlemen, and next week, and the regular season is over. So if Kershaw right now,
I think we have 6 more home games.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken,
6 more home games, and then we end on the road in Colorado. It's 6.
Okay. Do they have the Monday off?
They have the Monday off, so they have 3 against the Rockies, and then they have that big 3-game series against the Show Pods.
You think I'd have the schedule memorized by now?
You would think so. I regarding the Glasnow thing, what I thought was really interesting was it seemed like people wanted to make that into a big story, but it just didn't happen because
stop trying to make fetch happen.
It's never going to happen. It was just one of those things where everybody kept saying, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird. And to me, look, what I think happened was Glasnow was pissed. I know there were a lot of theories out there that, oh, well, maybe Glasnow's pissed that the Dodgers are shutting him down when he thinks he can pitch. Look, obviously something happened there. And like you said, Amie, he was probably pissed because he knows the season's over. And of course anybody's going to be pissed because
I don't know if he's pissed. I think he might be emotional. He may be bummed. He may be just so upset that he can't be, much like Matt Kemp after he retired. Like, I can't be in Dodger Stadium right now. Like, Kershaw has said it before. It's hard to be there. Like, he will always support the team, but it's hard to be there when you can't play, when you can't contribute. Muncy said the same thing, being out, most of the summer. And I think with him being gone like that, Shohei did it last year too. He had that injury, and then we heard kind of this big kerfuffle of, well, he's cleared out his locker. Well, he doesn't need the stuff anymore. Like, if he's going to be on the field, he has what he needs to be out there if he's going to support from the dugout. But like, I don't know. Like, if the front office, I'm sure the front office and management all know what's going on. I don't think he just went AWOL, I guess, is kind of my point there of, they probably know what's going on.
No, you're right. I think part of this is also the Dodgers share some blame in terms of how they handled this. It seems to me like there is a very simple way of handling these things, and for some reason, I don't think the Dodgers do. From the reports from the beat writers were, that Friday, Glasnow came out and he said, I'll be right back. And he never came back. I think there's a simple, if he would have talked to the media, and I get it, he doesn't have to, but he would have.
But we don't know why he didn't talk. Maybe it wasn't even him. Maybe somebody in the front office pulled him aside and they were like, we really would prefer you didn't say anything. This is where like the conjecture gets me, where it's like, we don't know what happens and we're not necessarily owed an explanation. Is it nice to have one in the circumstances where those things line up? Absolutely. But we're not owed anything. And this is still a medical issue. So is there HIPAA involved? Does he not want to share that stuff? We don't know.
Right. Everything that you're saying there is true. One of the things, though, this whole theory of we're not owed this information. Why do we have reporters covering the team?
I mean, you can have information, but it doesn't mean that you're entitled to everything. It's what they want to release. I mean, then I'll flip it the other way. How are you going to get it? You're entitled to everything?
No, you're not entitled, but this is why I think people will continue. If you're a good reporter, you continue to ask the question. And I think this is why Dave Roberts is put in this position that he was put in. And I think you're right in the sense that maybe Glasnow wanted to talk to them, but somebody in the Dodgers organization said, no, don't, right? And that's what I'm talking about, the communication. I think it would have been very easily to have Glasnow come out there and say, you know what, we just got this information. I need more time to digest, to really figure out what this is all about. Okay? And that's then and there. But the fact that
I feel like we're assuming, though, too, that these guys are trained in like speaking and media and all this stuff. These guys are ball players. And I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but they didn't go to school to be orators. They are out there to play a game. They may get some media training, but like kind of what we saw with was it oh God, what's his name? Jorge Lopez? Like
the Mets.
Yeah. these guys, he's just dealing with the fact that he got this information. Like sometimes that may have to be a press release, or it may have to be Dave Roberts delivering it later. It may not come from the player that day. I guess I err on the side of like, sometimes there needs to be a pause. Like we got the information. What more did people want that he was going to say beyond what we got? It, and we already know injury wise, they play it close to the vest, because when they release stuff, people get very upset about, well, that changed. Well, yeah, it's a medical situation. Things are ever evolving. So it's almost like they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. They trot him out there. What is he going to say that's different than what the Dodgers have already put out? He's shut down for the season. Is it that just people just want his quotes? His, like...
No, but everything you're saying is true. And this is why for me, I'm putting this on the organization and not necessarily Glasnow, because you're right. That's what a PR person is for. So you don't put Dave Roberts in the position to say, I don't know where he is. And then on Sunday, he says, it's an excused absence. It's personal. We knew where he was all along. We just chose to, it's like to just say that. Look, for me, it's very simple to just come out there and say, look, he went back to LA to review the medicals. That's it. That's it. It's a very simple way. You're not releasing any information in terms of their medicals. You're just explaining why he's not there, and that ends the story.
He may not know, though. Like, we've seen Dave Roberts. Sometimes he hasn't even seen the bullpens of the players. That's left to the trainers, and we've been in the scrum, and it's like, well, hey, how did Kershaw's bullpen go? Oh, I don't know. I heard it went well. I haven't had a chance to download yet. I feel like we forget that there's a lot of moving parts in this organization, and Dave Roberts may not have that information at that time when the media has those hours. He may get it an hour later, which is great, but he didn't have it for that media scrum, or whatever's going on with Glasnow. He thought he was going to talk to media, and then they pulled it. I guess it comes down to me of like, we don't know. And I feel like for me, I just want to offer them some grace, because there's a lot of moving parts there. It's not like Dave Roberts is just kicking back at his desk of like, okay, cool, give me that memo, give me the TPS report, and I'll make sure to tell the media. So I guess for me, it comes down to trying to see it from the different perspectives of maybe he didn't know at the time.
And that's fine, but someone needs to know. And it goes back to the, like, what did we talk about? What
life or death situation is happening if we find out Friday versus Saturday? It's baseball. We're supposed to enjoy this. Why?
There we go. 17 minutes in.
I'm gonna be saying it the whole time, because we haven't even gotten to the Cubs series. I don't understand this whole like getting so upset. It feels like whether we're trying to put the blame on somebody, why? There could be, it's not black or white. It's not just you're right, I'm wrong. You see things completely differently than I do, and neither of us are wrong. We just see them differently. We watch baseball differently. We as media look at meeting with the players and the information that they give us differently. It doesn't make either of us wrong. It just means that there's a lot of moving parts, and we all have different perspectives. And I guess that's where I don't even think like placing the blame. What does it do? Like, if this was something that impacted him going out on the field and pitching and hurting his arm, then I'm like, yeah, you guys, we need the most up-to-date information. But he's not pitching. If we find out 24 hours later, it's not going to change the fact that he's not coming back the rest of the season. So it's not life or death. The focus is that game that night and how we're playing, and if we win or we lose, I guess, for me.
Yeah, and I guess I don't look at it as placing blame. I'm placing it on accountability. I understand some fans' frustration, especially when it comes to, don't hold up a blue pair of shoes and tell me they're red, because now you're insulting my intelligence. I can clearly see they're blue, right? And I think that's where the frustration with some of the fans is coming with, where it's just like, and I get it, some fans are casual, but there are other fans that really know this. They follow this stuff. And
but what changed from, like, let's just say I'm throwing out Friday and Saturday. I'd have to double check the days that we were alerted on this, but like, what changed from Friday finding out and then Saturday getting the details? How did that impact how did that negatively impact anything? Getting more information as they found out. Like,
I think the only negative impact it is a narrative again that I feel is more on the organization and not necessarily on the players, and that this organization is not necessarily forthcoming with information. And this goes back to your point where they don't have to be forthcoming. And that to me brings up this whole point. Why do we have media covering these teams then? Because if this is
we still
information that
got the
we are not
information.
privy to, if this is
Yeah.
information we're not privy to, then what is the big deal?
Well, but I mean, but we got it though. Like, it was the difference of Friday night when they scratched him, and then Saturday we got more information. Like, I don't feel like we were denied anything. They let us
Right,
know.
but I think we only got it because they kept asking the question. And I think that's what made this into a bigger thing than it should have been. Because if they just would have been honest from the beginning, it would have nipped it in the bud and we move on, you know. But the fact that they keep dodging it, they themselves are the ones that are turning this into a story when it's a non-story, like you said. This should have been like, remember how we said, just play the video for Shohei? Like, you guys made this into a bigger deal. The simplest thing would have been just play the video honoring Shohei before the Angels series.
Well, I guess that's where I feel like it got made into a bigger deal, but I don't understand why, because it felt like the tone of how things were portrayed, where it's like, okay, so he didn't talk to the media. Did anything change? He's still not playing. So why are we putting that out there then? He didn't unsprain his arm. What changed? Nothing, other than he's not with the team right now. He probably needs some time. Look at Walker Buehler, went and had to go try something in a different state to go try to get himself on track. What does that have to do with us winning or losing games? Walker Buehler wasn't pitching at the time. Glasnow wasn't in the clubhouse. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't a story. It didn't change that his arm was still sprained. They did confirm that it wasn't even to go get any more medical stuff. So where was the story at that point? To me, there wasn't one. So that's where it's like, okay, we wanted to ask more questions, but maybe there was no more information available other than it's sprained and they don't know where they're going from here. We might not get more answers. To me, it was, we got the information up until that point. But again, we are so far into this episode and we haven't even talked about the Cubs series.
Go ahead. What did you see with the Cubs?
I mean, we had some good games there. Shohei is continuing to chase 50-50. So Buehler pitched on Monday. He went five innings, gave up quite a few runs. A rocky game. But we still had Shohei stealing a base. We had Mookie Betts hitting a home run. And then I was at Tuesday and Wednesday. The Tuesday game was a little rough because we were winning. And then I had to bounce in the later innings because I had work the next day. And as I was listening on the way home on the radio, it was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But then, we came back in that Wednesday game and me and my friend were in the pavilion. So we kept seeing just like home run to the right, home run to the left, to the right. Like it was baseball. It was, for all we're going to talk about in the Braves series of like, oh my God, everybody was so downtrodden when we lost 1-10 and it's not great. But then we turned around and we did it back to them when Max Fried was pitching. Like it literally is the balancing of the game. So we had the back-to-back home runs on that Wednesday, which was pretty awesome.
For me, these series, actually, the Cachorros and the Bravos, I think are the same series. So I kind of want to combine both of them, Amie, because what we saw in that Cachorro series, I think we saw again in the Bravos series, and I think that's what we're going to see in the playoffs. So we had Walker Buehler, who pitched in that first game, and he was a victim of the home run ball. He's ever since he's come back, he's been a victim of the home run ball. Cody Bellinger, he had himself a series.
Him and Michael Busch.
The Dodgers, all the former Dodgers had a series. So what I found really interesting was you saw that start that Buehler had against the Cachorros, and then you saw him what happened against the Bravos. And it kind of started off in that same way. When he gave up those first 2 runs against the Bravos, I think everybody was thinking, here we go again. They're going to get swept. They're going to get swept in Atlanta. But he settled down, and he probably pitched the best game that he's pitched all season. I was so surprised the way he started that game, that he was able to get through 6 innings against the Bravos. But
and it goes back to what you said last week of we can't have him come out of the bullpen because the first couple rocky innings, no, we can't have that right now.
No, but I think this is what we're talking about, where I think there has been improvement from him, but there is still that inconsistency. So you have how he looked against the Cachorros, and then you saw what he looked like against the Bravos. What you have is a giant question mark of, like, in the playoffs, if he does pitch, and right now it looks like he's going to have to pitch because the Dodgers just don't have any pitchers, I don't think anybody can tell you what you're going to expect from Buehler. You could get a Walker Buehler that looks like what he looked like against the Cachorros.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. Or you can get a Walker Buehler start like the one against the Bravos. And anybody would take that. That's a quality start. 6 innings, 2 runs. So, to me, the reason why I wanted to talk about these 2 series as the same thing is the number of runs that were scored in the Cachorro series was very distressing to me, because the Dodgers pitching gave up a lot of runs in that series. And then the first 2 games of the Bravos series, the Dodgers gave up a lot of runs. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my God, because Jack Flaherty pitched on Saturday and he didn't look good. And Jack Flaherty is supposed to be your number 1. Now, you can sit there and say that's probably Jack Flaherty's worst start that he's had as a Dodger since being acquired. So you hope that that's just a one-off, that's not going to happen.
He's not going to have a perfect record.
Yeah. But it was disconcerting. And because for me, that last game against the Cachorros, 7 runs should be enough to win you a game. And what we clearly soon saw, 7 runs was not enough to win you a game. They had to score 10 runs to win that game. And that was the game that Bobby Miller pitched. And it was like, again, look, Bobby Miller is pitching right now in Miami, and it was not pretty. Amie, I'm just going to say this about Bobby Miller. It is very tough to watch, but it is obvious to me, especially after that Cachorro series, that guy is not healthy. And he is doing a Gonsolin right now for the team. And I have some empathy for him because he's taking a lot of heat. He's getting a lot of strays. He is clearly taking one for this team because this team has no pitchers. They don't have enough pitchers. They need him to go out there. But he was limping. And to me, it was noticeable how he was limping against the Cachorros. And I think it sucks that he's clearly going out there pitching hurt. And I'm sure that his injury has messed up his mechanics. And that's the reason why he has no control. But all I say is this, guys, for all the hate that Bobby Miller gets and everybody's like, get him out of there, just try to consider this. The man is pitching hurt, and he is out there pitching where he very easily could tell the team, hey, I'm hurt. I'm not pitching, just like Tony Gonsolin was out there last year pitching hurt, helping the team because of the situation he's in. So even though it's very easy to criticize Bobby Miller, I just want to say this. I want to see you guys going out there pitching on one leg, and you tell me how well you're going to do against major league hitters.
Even Kershaw's not pitching right now because of that. It's that, whether it's his landing foot or it's the one that he's like kind of leading off in that pitch, like he can't, like he's injured. I guess when I look at the scores, like it never feels good to lose, but where everybody gets concerned of like, oh my God, we gave up so many runs. We absolutely did. It's insurmountable, I think, for the offense in some of those games, but like we did it to the other team too. Like in that Cubs series, we still went 10-8. So they got us 4-10 on Monday, but we went 10-8 on Wednesday. We did the same back and forth with the Braves. That first game was a little bit closer, 2-6. They were at least able to score a couple of runs. Knack only went 2 innings in that one. And the bullpen is having to pick up a lot of slack. And yes, it was 1-10 in that Flaherty start, but we came back the other two. I feel like we focus on those losses, but we don't look at but we turned around on Sunday and we won 9-2. We blew them out. We did the same thing on Monday. We shut them out 9-0. So it's like, while we get frustrated on the one side of God, our pitching is just giving up runs and look at how many runs they are, we can turn around and do the same thing. We did it to Max Fried. That's why to me, it's that is baseball. It's going to balance itself. It's going to counterbalance itself constantly. It is that back and forth in the sport, which is where me and my friend group, we just choose to watch the game. Does it suck to lose? Absolutely. But look at those games where we won. There were moments that were amazing. Even in the losses, there were some pretty cool plays. There were some, these guys are still doing things, trying to win. They're tired. It's been a long season. Mistakes have been made too, which it's not easy to watch, but kind of your reminder of, let's give Bobby Miller some grace. These guys don't want to make these mistakes. They're on the biggest stage in the world, and they have everybody just collectively groaning, whether that's from TV, in the stadium, whatnot. It doesn't feel good. I feel like these guys are doing the best that they can. In both series, we got 3 back-to-back home runs, which I think is pretty stellar. These guys are hitting. There was also some small ball in there too. Miguel Rojas had a game where I think he ended up striking out once, but the other 3, he scored 3 of the runs or brought them in. Great job.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers ended up salving that what could have been a very disastrous series against the Bravos, winning those last 2 games. It was just a very mixed bag this week for the Dodgers. I think the pitching was a concern. I think. And I want to go back and just clarify on the Bobby Miller thing, guys. I say get Bobby Miller grace, knowing very well he is not going to be on the postseason roster. You're not going to see Bobby Miller pitch in the postseason. You're not. You think he's actually going to pitch, Amie?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying you put that out there. There've been some things where we've all been surprised of oh, we need a body. Okay, all right. Well. And I'm just saying, never say never.
We didn't include this in the update, but Tony Gonsolin is continuing his rehab start in Oklahoma City, and that door is still open. It seems like this door stays open.
It's cracked. He said it was cracked.
It seems like it stays cracked for a very, very long time.
Well, and I think that goes to Bill Plunkett's. He posted a stat, and I believe it was for Sunday. In the past 5 games, which included 4 losses up to that point, starting pitching had gone 18 1/3 innings. That's with 21 runs and a 10.31 ERA. The bullpen, conversely, including Rojas and Kike, which we'll get into more in the next episode, went 24 2/3 innings pitched. So you've got starting pitching going 18 1/3. You've got the bullpen going 24 2/3. They gave up 14 runs, 9 earned runs, and they had a 3.28 ERA. These guys on both sides, they're gassed. It's not great for the fans. It's not great for the guys that are pitching. That contributes to exactly kind of what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, and we're going to go into that more in our next episode. There were some interesting comments made by some other people on that subject. But I think that Plunkett quote is that's how you can perfectly explain the Dodgers season right there. And I don't think that's not a good stat when you have the bullpen pitching more innings than your starters, when your bullpen leads the league in innings pitched. That is not a good stat. But look,
maybe we need to start with the bullpen and finish with the starter.
Look, and the way things are going, you're gonna see bullpen games in the postseason for the Dodgers.
I just prepared now. Just
exactly. It's what the Brewers did. The Cerveceros did this in 2018 against the Dodgers. It's just one of those things where It is the situation. I mean, we have all of the offseason to talk about what happened to the Dodgers injury-wise, but just prepare yourselves. But there is some silver lining this
Are
week.
we planning for negativity? Like, what?
No, I love that it's automatically viewed as negativity when you're just calling it the way it is. Like this is what is happening to this team. And if no one is to blame, or for lack of a better word, I think if no one is held accountable, I want that job. I want the job where I can make decisions and no one is going to hold me accountable for anything that I do.
Holding them accountable to me would come into play if they don't make any changes. Like if they just continue like, yeah, you know what? We looked into it, whatever looking into it is, and we're going to continue pitching the way that we are. We're going to continue training the way that they are. Then that's like, okay, yeah, somebody needs to be called on the carpet. But if for holding them accountable, if in the off season they do research and they're like, you know what, throwing these, whatever they are, the heavy balls that they throw in practice over and over, that might be contributing. We need to look more into this velo thing that everybody's talking about. If they look into that and they start to make some changes, to me, like that is them being responsible. Like, okay, we see that there's a problem. Everybody has called us out on it. We're going to talk about it in the next episode. Like we've even got like former managers talking about, the shape of our team. And it's like, okay, well, we're looking into it. And now we've got to make some changes because we can't continue to have new arms coming in from the farm system and reclamation projects still continuing to get hurt.
And that's why I think the offseason is going to be very interesting because that's where we're going to see, what did they discover? What are they going to do about it? Or if they're going to give us that same dog and pony show where they're going to keep doing things the same way.
And that's where they do need to be held accountable, because if people are getting hurt and nothing's changing, then that something absolutely needs to change. If we can toss into that, something needs to change, the in-game interviews. But, that's just my personal pet peeve.
You want to make a comment about the Oscars in-game interview?
Well, just the fact that he couldn't hear, like, I feel like he was doing like a good job. He's always jovial. I saw it. I think I texted you a picture and I'm like, oh my God, in-game interviews. And then, Mookie's out there and he's having a ball talking, even made some comments about Usher and, hey, better stay away from my wife. And like, I get it. It's fun. For me, I want to see it off the field, not while they're trying to focus on the game, but they both had some pretty funny moments while they were out there.
Look, I think the takeaways from the Cachorros and the Bravo series is this, and that is Yamamoto looked good.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is it was a very small sample size.
We got to stretch them out.
You got to stretch them out. And like we've been talking about in the last few episodes, the Dodgers are up against the clock. So I don't know realistically, maybe 5 innings max is what you're going to be able to get Yamamoto to between now and the start of the postseason. But if Yamamoto can remain healthy and this is what we're going to get from him, I think that is very encouraging for the Dodgers. If Jack Flaherty continues to be just the dependable guy, at least we have 2 people. We got 2 starters. Mm-hmm. And if Walker Buehler did figure something out in Atlanta, if this is the start of something, all right, now you're piecing together 3 starters. Landon Knack did not look good against the Bravos. For the most part, Landon Knack, I think, has been reliable throughout the season. So let's hope that was just a hiccup. The game was rainy. It was inclement weather. I don't know if that had an impact on it.
You could see their uniforms once again. I'm so glad we got those uniforms fixed before the end of the season so that they're not covered in. Oh wait, they were covered in sweat. My bad.
Yeah. So it may not all be doom and gloom going into the playoffs for the Dodgers. The other thing that was noticeable for me that I think is a little bit alarming. I've said this. I know Juan Toribio has written about this. The Dodgers are going to go as far as their superstars carry them. And those first couple of games with the Bravos, Shohei, Mookie, and Federico, did not look good. They look like playoff form from last year. Shohei ended up with 2 doubles on Sunday. That was the game that they ended up winning. But for the most part, Shohei was pretty quiet in that Bravo series. Come the playoffs, that can't happen. Those guys need to carry the team. If those guys don't hit, it doesn't matter if you don't have pitching. You still got to score runs to win games. So that's why I feel like this week, in particular, these 2 series has been eye-opening in the sense of, oh boy, the Dodgers have a lot. Now, it's not bad enough that they got to play good teams and beat them, but in a sense, I feel like they also have to overcome their own issues, which is they have pitchers that are just like, every day it's like, who's here? Who's in the locker room? Who can pitch? And then, like I said, unfortunately, and it happens, as Amie says, it's baseball. You don't choose when you go into a slump. The slump chooses you. So, like I said,
if you're chasing perfection and you're chasing, winning, this is not maybe the best. I mean, sports may not be the place for some of these fans. Like, if you're not enjoying the games, I guess that's the hardest part for me is like some of the vitriol that you see on social media. It's like, why are you guys even watching? Like, I took away some of the positives from that. Like, Tommy Edman hit 5 home runs in both of these series, like total. He got his first one in the Cubs series. So he hit 5 like in the span of a week, essentially. So he got 10 extra.
Yeah, Tommy Tanks has turned into Babe Ruth, according to a lot of people. So
10 extra base hits that include 5 home runs, four doubles, 1 triple. In the 25 games since he came off the IL. Rojas in his last 10 games had 11 hits, 4 RBI. Like, we've got some positives coming out of here. I mean, for those who enjoy just watching baseball for baseball, there's a lot of good things. What came out of Mookie's in-game interview when they asked him about like what was he thinking in that moment after they intentionally walked Shohei, which that's never a great feeling. He came in and he's like, I was just talking myself up like this, like basically like this is what he does. And he got that single and, scored some runs, like great job. And I guess the other thing for me, I don't know if you noticed it during the game, but like every time there was a good play and the camera like kind of panned to the bullpen, you saw those guys the way they had kind of the stadium seating in the bullpen. Like you'd see everyone like jump up and they'd be like cheering or if like some play happened and it was a little like gaspy, like you'd see all their faces. They were so animated. I feel like anytime I got a glimpse of the bullpen, it was exciting. And they were just doing their best, even though they're separated from the dugout, to cheer on the team. So positives from my side.
Well, what I learned is that this Dodger team, and I feel you could probably say this about all the teams right now in Major League Baseball, they're all flawed. So I don't know if there is a complete team.
Sorry, that's baseball. Sorry.
Yeah, so just when I count the Dodgers out, they do find a way to bounce back. But there were some concerning things. But again, like I said, if Yamamoto can stay healthy, Flaherty and Buehler, all right, all you got to do is now find somebody to pitch game 4. That may be Landon Knack. It may be a bullpen game. Who knows what's going to happen, what they're going to do. But the offense is going to need to carry them. They're going to need to put up runs because hopefully Yamamoto can get stretched out to 5 innings. I mean, if you get 6 innings.
I fear for your mental health this offseason.
You shouldn't.
I do.
You shouldn't, because you should look. We're gonna end the show this way because I know we have a problem in Houston, but this is the reason why you shouldn't worry about me. I have already come to terms with the fact that this team isn't due. I am going to be so surprised if this team gets out of the first round. I really will. I like you to steal one of your lines. It's not injuries are not an excuse. They're a reason. It's an explanation. There's no way, and this is why I'd be super shocked if they got out of the first round and even made it to the World Series. When you are piecing together with glue or rubber bands, bubble gum, a pitching staff, and like we're going to go into all of this in depth in our next episode. When you're running a bullpen into the ground, and when you have an offense that is feast or famine, at one point or another, you have to be realistic and honest with yourself that it's just maybe this isn't your year. And, the wheels have fallen off. And that's how I view it. And that's why I'm not stressed.
You're okay. Even though it could be said feast or famine for other teams, like I'm sure the Bravos were feeling it on the other side of that feast or famine come
but right now
Monday.
The Bravos are on the outside looking in.
But they're trying. They're like they're in it for their life. We're a couple games up, luckily, but like they're trying to just make it in. They're at the window, like please.
Hey, and that Bravos team, aside from the Dodgers, that Bravos team probably has the most injuries that have impacted a Major League Baseball team, and they're still out there fighting and being competitive.
Which will go to one of our stories in the next episode.
Exactly. So we're going to leave it that we're leaving a cliffhanger for our next episode. Amie, any last words before we end this one?
Happy belated Mexican Independence Day. It was yesterday.
There we go. There you go. Mexican Independence Day.
I would do a grito, but I don't want to blow out your ear. So
I appreciate that.
Pretend I did it. Insert here.
Yes, exactly. So happy
sound.
Mexican Independence Day for those of you who celebrate. That's going to do it for this episode. If you've been listening to us on the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you've been watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments, help spread the word, let people know about the show. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.